I don't think I need to tell you guys that I absolutely love video games. It's a very cliched thing to say, but I've played video games my entire life, and I've done my best to turn video games into a sort of career with my League of Legends YouTube channel, League of Legends being the big game that has taken up the majority of my time as I've played it for the past 6.5 years. But of all the games that I have played my entire life, there's still one game that I have played longer than League of Legends, and that, of course, is Runescape. Runescape, or old school Runescape, I have played for the past 12 or 13 years now. I started in 2004, 2005. I have spent a lot of time on this game. The only game I've played more than League. Most of you guys probably already knew that. I talk about RuneScape quite a lot on my YouTube channel. I've made a number of RuneScape videos before, and I actually stream it a fair amount as well on our late night streams, where we just skill in RuneScape, do some fun stuff, and talk to the chat. And anytime that I do one of these things, I often get asked the question, do I think RuneScape holds up? Is RuneScape actually a really good game that has managed to last for the past 12 or 13 years with me playing it on its own merits? Is it all just actually really good gameplay? Or am I a little too nostalgic for this game that I can't seem to let go of? The answer to that question is actually pretty complex, believe it or not, but I want to take some time to talk about it today. And let's start off by saying shortly, yes, I believe RuneScape has incredibly good gameplay, some of the best and most unusual gameplay of any MMO I've ever seen. For instance, the quests, the story, the lore, the dialogue, all of that is 10 times better than I've ever seen in any MMO, and I do not exaggerate, I don't mean to exaggerate when I say that some of the individual quests in RuneScape are better than entire single-player games I've played sometimes, like the Penguin quest, Cold War. There are some seriously good quests in RuneScape, and the lore is so well done, so much better than most other MMOs. It's really a good game in that regard. On top of that, it just does a bunch of things that are different than most other MMOs, like the character building. In RuneScape, the way that you build your character isn't like most other MMOs where there's a class or you have professions that are capped at a limit. In RuneScape, you can just do whatever you want. You just have a bunch of skills that you can choose to do them however you want. You can level up your character in whatever way. You can build your character in whatever way. If you want to have a pure, you can build a pure. If you want to just level up skills that interest you and drop them when they don't, you can choose to do that as well. Or if you want to try and get everything to 99, good luck. That will take like thousands of hours. Not only is the character building really well done, but the world building is also incredibly well done. Again, a lot different than most other MMOs you see. I'm probably going to be saying that a lot in this video. One of the things that really strikes me about the world building in particular is how it's not really structured like other MMOs in the sense that you don't start off in a low-level area where you level 1 to 10 against monsters that are levels 1 to 10, and then you move on to the next area after you hit 10, right? A lot of MMOs are sort of set up in that way that railroads you through a very decided, straight, narrow path in an area that's supposed to be an open world. RuneScape isn't built like that. The design of the world is based around cities that are based around bodies of water, like cities that crop up in a very realistic way that cities might, less cities that in the wilderness, the most dangerous area of the game, you don't really have much other than the bandit camp and ruins, and like it's a very realistic sense of world building where you feel like you're traversing across an area that could totally exist. This dude right here, this is actually a really good example. This dude, Choco Thunder, he's in an area that's incredibly far away from the starting area. You start off in Lumbridge. This dude is all the way over here, and he's doing a quest that you can start off doing at the lowest levels. I mean, this quest wasn't put in the starting area because it's a quest for low levels. I mean, when I first made my account, I didn't do this quest until I was incredibly high leveled because I didn't get to this area until I was incredibly high leveled. It's really interesting how the game doesn't follow a lot of the traditional MMO conventions, and I mean, I could rant about all this stuff for a really long time. There's plenty of things in the game that are just different than your average MMO, and so you can say whether you think it's a good or bad difference. That's arguable. Whether you like PKing style of PvP player killing, you can choose to enjoy enjoy it or choose to not enjoy it, and it's personal preference whether you like an MMO entirely. So there's certainly gameplay elements that not everyone is going to automatically adore, but there is a lot here that I could say, yes, this game holds up in its gameplay. Even if you've never played it, if you can get past the graphics that do look a little wonky because it was originally a game meant to be able to play through browsers, if you can get past the graphics, there's a lot of really good stuff here that you will be able to enjoy. However, with that being said, I do have to mention that I don't think RuneScape is as good as it once was. That's something that a lot of people say. A lot of people say that RuneScape, or even old school RuneScape, has been ruined by updates, that the updates devalue whatever it is that they've accomplished. If you get 99 mining and then they add easier ways of mining, then, oh, my 99 was so difficult to get. Oh my goodness, my experience and achievement has been devalued. A lot of people say that updates like that end up ruining the game, but that's not what I mean when I say the game isn't as good as it once was. I mean the player base and the way that the community chooses to play the game is actually fundamentally different than the way people used to play the game back in the 2004 to 2010 era, and I honestly think the game isn't as good, not because of anything the developers have done, but because of the way that the community views the game and the way the community chooses to play it. The main point I have at the forefront of my argument is I believe that any MMO, one of the major elements to making an MMO good is being able to sit around and do nothing while still having fun. Think about real life for a second. How many times when you were a kid did your parents make you go outside to get fresh air, but you didn't want to do anything? It was a really hot day outside, so all you did was sit around in the shade of a tree. Sit around and talk to friends. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, but maybe you still had a little bit of fun. Even nowadays, even in real life, think about how many days you've spent evenings just looking at memes on your computer, doing nothing. You can choose whether to enjoy those or you can see them as wasted days that kind of suck. But however you view them, they're days that actually happen. And I think one of the forefronts, one of the biggest points that MMOs should focus on a lot more than they do in making an MMO feel breathable, making the world feel like this living, breathing thing, is by having a lot of realism in the way that you can have fun while doing nothing. RuneScape was always particularly good at this, in my opinion, whether it was people just standing around talking, or whether it's the way that some skills like Hunter work, where it sort of forces you to just do the same menial task with other people that you naturally start talking to and you make friends with them and you sort of form a bond in that way. There's a lot of ways that RuneScape does this really well, but I'd say two of them no longer exist. Two of them no longer exist, and they were my two favorites, which I want to talk about. Let's start off by talking about Castle Wars. Castle Wars is an area on the map where you can play a mini game that's basically capture the flag. You go into one of two teams, Zamorak or Saradomin, named after the two gods, the two major gods in RuneScape, and you choose which team you want to play for, and you play capture the flag. That's essentially how everything works. The game has two castles, where on the top of each castle you can ascend it, capture the flag of the opposing castle, bring it back to your castle's top, and you will score a point. Team with the most points at the end of 20 minutes wins. This was one of the most fun things to do in-game because it brought together all these high levels and low levels, people that were maxed accounts and people that were just noobs that wanted to play for fun. It brought this massive community of people into this incredibly fun game mode, and it had just a such... I mean, I swear, I don't need to tell you guys who've played RuneScape before how fun Castle Wars used to be. Unfortunately, though, not many people play Castle Wars anymore. I'm not in the Castle Wars world right now, which is why there's no one here, but if you guys played back in 2007, you probably remember this area where there would be just lines and lines of people alching or training stuff, just sitting around talking to each other, and there would be people in Castle Wars who were either choosing to fight here so they could talk back, or just running around here so they could talk to these people too. I mean, this is where a lot of the famous people would go whenever Zezima or ShyXXXTina or any of the big famous YouTubers like Gross Gore or any of those guys, whenever they would play Castle Wars, a lot of them would always just run around in these outskirt areas where there would be a ton of people not focusing on actually capturing the flag and winning the game. There's just battling each other, talking to each other, having some fun. The problem with this game is there isn't really much incentive to do it other than fun. I feel like fun should be a pretty good incentive, but the rewards that you get from playing Castle Wars are the decorative armors, which aren't all that useful. They aren't really armor that's that useful. If you're going to be getting this armor, it's not going to be armor that's better than armor you can currently wear and currently have in your bank. So you never want to use it for combat. It's just a status symbol because it takes 100 or however many hundreds of hours. It takes like thousands of hours to get the 3rd tier. I mean, it takes a really long time to get this armor. So why would you go for these rewards when they're mostly cosmetic? And why would you waste your time doing that if you can spend your time leveling skills? I would say because it's incredibly fun, and some of the greatest memories I had playing this game were through playing Castle Wars, but people don't seem to want to do this anymore, which makes me sad. Anyway, before I get too sad, let's go ahead and move on to the next little area that I want to talk about, where it's another great example of being able to have fun doing nothing in RuneScape. So this is my house. In RuneScape, you can choose to construct a house. You can level a construction skill, build your own house. The higher your construction skill, the more rooms that you can add, the different kinds of rooms that you can add, and all the rooms have something to do. Some of them are just skill-oriented rooms, like this is the skill hall, where I have a number of things that I either earned or got through my adventures, and I can show them off. Cape of Legends in the skill hall. But some of the rooms that you have are pretty basic rooms, like this room, the parlor that you can build at level 1, where you can sit in chairs, you can light a fireplace, and you can read books. That's all you can do in this room. You can actually have some fun doing this because there's a ton of books in RuneScape that actually explain a lot of the lore and history of the world. So you can light a fire, you can sit in a chair, with a number of other people, open up a book, and start reading about stuff. I mean, this is something that some people do for fun in real life. Sounds crazy, right? But it's actually pretty enjoyable when you're doing it in a massive house filled with a ton of people. So a lot of people would choose to do this. A lot of people had house parties in RuneScape where some guy who had really high construction would choose to host a house party, and you could just go and do a ton of things with a bunch of other people. Some of the rooms in a house have more use than other rooms. There's a combat ring here where you can fight to the death. You can fight to the death with boxing gloves or other weapons, that little fun weapons that the game provides. You can have a games hall where you can do a number of things. You can target practice, throw darts at a board. You can play hangman. That's how people always used to swear because it wouldn't censor if you said fuck or something in it. Some of the rooms are a little more useful though, like the crafting room where you can repair really good armor that degrades, like Barrow's armor, or the study where you can infuse teleport tabs, or the skill hall where you can actually use a amulet of glory that has infinite charges to teleport to some pretty important areas. But the most popular thing that people would do is use the gilded altar, which is the most efficient way, or the best way, the quickest way to train your prayer skill. The thing that was always so fun about house parties though was there were so many people in a house that you would have all sorts of things to do, whether you actually wanted to train a skill or you wanted to just sit around and eat some food at a dinner table with other people talking and making new friends. It was this massive community where just a bunch of people doing nothing, having fun. Now let's go to one of the houses that is currently hosting. One of the houses that people are going to train their skills or to have fun. One of the houses that's supposed to be having a party. Now let's see what people are doing. Oh, people are training their prayer. Okay, that makes sense. Here's the host of the house. People are training their prayer. And is there anyone else in any area of the house doing anything else? No one over here, no one in the study, no one looking through the telescope, no one doing anything. No. Let's go up the stairs here. Is anyone up here? Okay, those stairs don't lead anywhere, never mind. Nobody in the bedroom, nobody in the crafting room, nobody in the combat ring, nobody in the, I forget what this room is called, nobody in the dining hall, nobody in the menagerie, nobody in the parlor, nobody in the kitchen, nobody making tea in the kitchen. Nobody is doing anything in this house other than training their prayer. This is the problem that RuneScape currently has. If you want to call it a problem, the entire community doesn't want to focus on having fun nearly as much as they used to. The entire community just wants to focus on training their skills. That's all that people really want to do nowadays. They want to train their skills. They don't want to do stuff that they view as wasting experience. They don't want to go into houses and have house parties and just sit around on the throne doing nothing, and maybe someone will stand on the floor decoration and then you pull the lever and send them into the outblight. Nobody wants to do these things where they would just sit around and have fun which, you know, maybe that sounds a little bit condescending. It takes thousands of hours to grind an account and get all your stats to max, so you got plenty of time to put in, and you might not want to waste your time doing nothing in a game. But I think this is a problem that most MMOs have nowadays, where people don't want to sit around and just have fun enjoying the world doing nothing. They just want to view the game as something to complete. They want to view their skills as something to max. They don't want to relax and just have fun. Oh, I wish people still did this. Why don't people have house parties in RuneScape anymore, man? I don't know if this is a symptom of MMOs dying, or maybe this is one of the reasons MMOs started to die, but the way that people view games and the way that people don't seem to want to enjoy them in this same kind of way, I think it's a little bit sad. It's a little bit frustrating, and it is a kind of problem where it's not a massive problem that's going to end up killing a game. It's not going to end up doing whatever massive amount of damage to the community. The people that are playing the game aren't playing for the house parties right now because nobody does house parties, and Castle Wars isn't as nearly as popular as it used to be. But when you have an MMO where nobody is stopping to smell the roses, then it turns into a ghost town. When the world is no longer viewed as a place that people live, it's just viewed as a place where you can train your skills. I think that's what takes a lot of the mystery and mystique and magic away from some of the greatest games and best memories I've had growing up as a kid. I don't know if this is something that's ever going to be fixed, but it's definitely a reason that I would say RuneScape is not nearly as good as it once was. But to be fair, I mean, I can always, I have a gilded altar. Maybe I can start a host myself and try and relive some of those great memories through that. Even without all those fun things, I still think RuneScape is one of the most fun games that I've played ever, which is why I still play it nowadays. I'd highly recommend it. Maybe I'll put a link to the website. If for some reason you guys haven't played it yet or haven't heard of it, link in the description of this video. Anyway, though, I will of course see you all tomorrow. Until then, though, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in RuneScape, and have a wonderful day.